Hey Celtics Nation, we're back with another exclusive video bringing you the latest updates and deep dives on our beloved Boston Celtics. Before we jump into today's content, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash the like. That way you'll always be in the loop and never miss any exclusive Celtics news or analysis. Now, today's episode is a bit quieter than the chaos we saw yesterday, which had everyone buzzing about the George Niang trade, the signing of Chris Boucher, and what all of that means for the Celtics roster construction moving forward. But now, we can shift gears a little and focus on some of the growing unrest across the Eastern Conference and how that might impact the Celtics' outlook. Not just for this upcoming season, but for the one after that as well. Before we dive into those Eastern Conference dynamics, as always, I want to ask a favor. If this is your first time here, or if you've just been stubborn about subscribing, now's the time to get involved in the fun. Hit that like button, get involved in the conversation, and make sure you stay connected with everything Celtics because things are only getting more interesting. All right, let's talk about one of the biggest moves that's been shaking up the NBA landscape. The massive extension signed by De'Aaron Fox. The guy just inked a 4-year deal worth $229 million. That's right, $229 million. And that deal has sent shockwaves through the league, especially among the point guards. You see, Fox's extension kind of reset the market for elite young point guards, and all the other guys in that category are now looking at their own contract situations and wondering, wait a minute, am I leaving money on the table? Fox's deal reminds a lot of people of the max extension Jaylen Brown signed a while back. That extension put Jaylen at around $50 million a year, which at the time felt like a lot. But now with Fox's deal, we're seeing that market move even higher. In fact, Fox's contract currently places him as the 7th or 8th highest paid player in the entire league. It's wild to think about how these contracts evolve. You're the highest paid player one day, and then suddenly someone else signs a new max extension, and your deal starts to feel like a bargain or even a bad contract in the eyes of fans and analysts. But that's just how the salary cap and media rights deals work. They keep inflating, and every new contract tends to outpace the last. This ripple effect is causing some real tension for players like Tyler Herro and Trae Young, whose teams have been quiet on their extension talks so far. Let's start with Tyler Herro. According to Brett Siegel from Clutch Points, Herro becomes eligible for a 3-year extension worth nearly $150 million with the Miami Heat right before this season starts in October. Pat Riley and the Heat are known for being cautious with these big financial commitments, especially after what happened with Jimmy Butler. So whether they decide to extend Herro or hold off on it could send a strong signal about the Heat's direction in the East. If Miami hesitates or plays hardball, it could indicate they're considering a shift away from their current core. That could open the door for teams like Boston, who are always watching the landscape closely. If Miami does move away from Herro or makes a big roster change, that could impact the Eastern Conference's competitive balance. Right now, the Heat have a solid squad with Herro, Bam Adebayo, and additions like Norman Powell, plus Andrew Wiggins, and an intriguing young player in Caleb Ware. But if they decide not to pay Herro a max-level extension or decide to rebuild around younger or cheaper players, it could lighten the path for teams like the Celtics to move into the top tier of the East without having to face a Heat team loaded with stars. On the other hand, if Miami does decide to pay Herro and commit to him, I'm not necessarily upset by that. I actually think Herro is a talented offensive player with a high ceiling, even if his defense is a question mark. He's shown flashes of brilliance, but it feels like the contract might be a bit of an overpay given that his game is primarily one-sided. Very strong on offense, but not a defensive stalwart. So in a way, I kind of want Miami to commit and pay him big to see how it plays out. Sometimes paying a premium forces teams to be creative or make tough decisions elsewhere on the roster, which makes for a more interesting league dynamic. Now, shifting gears to Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks. According to Mark Spears from ESPN, the Hawks have yet to make a contract extension offer to Young, and apparently, he's disappointed by the delay. This situation feels bigger to me because Atlanta is coming off a season where they projected to win over 50 games and likely land a top 3 or top 4 seed in the East. Their roster this year looks pretty loaded. You've got Porzingis and Okongwu protecting the rim, Young is a budding all-star, along with Jalen Johnson, former #1 pick Zachary LaVine, and Kill Alexander-Walker, Luke Kennard, and Dyson Daniels, who made a strong case as a most improved player candidate. Atlanta's front office has shown savvy in the past, and even holds an unprotected first-round pick next year from the Pelicans, courtesy of that draft night trade for Derek Queen. But despite all these assets and pieces, the team is apparently hesitant about handing Trae a big extension right now. Why? It seems like Atlanta wants to see if this current roster works before committing the kind of money Trae Young is likely to demand. If the team underperforms or doesn't meet expectations, the Hawks could be facing tough decisions about whether to keep Young on a max deal or explore trade options while his value remains high. This is a fascinating scenario because teams across the league could be circling to make a move on Trae if the Hawks decide to entertain offers. Here's where it gets interesting for the Celtics. When you look at Boston's guard situation, Anthony Simons, Peyton Pritchard, and Derek White, none of those guys really move the needle at the elite level. White is a great defender and hustle player, but not the kind of star that can carry the offense. Simons and Pritchard are solid, but neither are proven max-level players. If the Celtics are considering an upgrade at point guard or shooting guard, someone like Trae Young fits the bill, though the question remains if they'd be willing to give him the max money he's expected to command, north of $50 million per year. Would paying Young or Harrow that kind of money make Boston better? Would their games fit the Celtics system, especially on defense? Young is a fantastic pick-and-roll player and one of the best passers in the league, but his defense is a liability. Harrow, meanwhile, is more offensively focused but lacks defensive impact. The larger point here is that the middle tier of the league has been obliterated when it comes to salary. Players who in the past might have received mid-level deals are now being priced out of the market due to a few superstar extensions inflating the cap and salaries. Jonathan Kuminga's situation with the Warriors is another example. He's holding up the market with the Warriors refusing to trade him despite big offers, which in turn affects other restricted free agents like Josh Giddey and Cam Thomas, who believe they deserve huge contracts but might not get them because of the cap crunch. So when you consider the big picture, Fox's extension has shaken things up considerably among point guards and shooting guards. It's created a clear upper class in the NBA with players like Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jaylen Brown, Steph Curry sitting at the top tier. Then there's a lower class, and the middle has been squeezed out. Comparing Fox to guys like James Harden or Jamal Murray is interesting because while Fox is electrifying offensively, he struggles on defense and shooting consistency, making him a polarizing figure when ranking point guards. All of this context leads into the growing Giannis Antetokounmpo speculation in Milwaukee. Rumors and unrest around Giannis' future keep bubbling up. It's hard to know if the media is just running out of fresh stories or if there's real tension behind the scenes. Giannis hasn't made a definitive decision about staying with the Bucks for the upcoming season, and if those rumors gain momentum, it could cause a massive shakeup in the East. If Giannis decides to leave, where does he go? There's chatter about the Western Conference teams like Houston or San Antonio making moves, but if he stays or moves within the East, teams like the Knicks come into the conversation. Imagine a package deal where New York offers Karl-Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, and several first-round picks to pair Giannis with Jalen Brunson, trying to replicate the success that Giannis had with Damian Lillard in Milwaukee. It's a compelling storyline, but would require a massive trade and would come at the cost of giving up core assets like Jaylen Brown for Boston. Using the trade machine to simulate such a trade, it becomes clear how complicated the salary matching and cap restrictions are. Even with Boston under the second apron, which helps, matching Giannis' contract means involving Jaylen Brown and other players or picks, pushing Boston's cap situation to its limits. Boston has already given up some second-round picks in recent trades, but still holds several future first-round picks, which could be tempting trade assets. But would Celtics fans be willing to give up Jaylen Brown and multiple first-round picks for Giannis? It's a tough question, and it really boils down to how much you value keeping the current core versus chasing a superstar. Beyond Milwaukee and New York, keep an eye on teams like Toronto as well. The East right now feels weird and unsettled. You have the Pacers without Halliburton, Celtics missing Tatum for parts, and several teams like the Hawks, Magic, and Pistons with unproven but promising rosters aiming for the top half of the conference. Miami might be on the brink of major changes depending on Harrow's extension, and the Cavaliers remain a team to watch for their playoff push. The Knicks are making moves but still need more pieces to compete at the highest level. The East is really wide open. All these uncertainties mean that even if Giannis leaves Milwaukee, it might not drastically shift the Celtics' chances. Boston could very well finish as a fifth seed in a watered-down conference, but still have a real shot at making a deep playoff run. Before we wrap this up, I want to mention Austin Reeves' reported demand for a $30 million per year contract. That got me thinking about the comparison between Reeves and Derek White. Both players are expected to earn roughly the same amount, with White making about $28 million this season and Reeves reportedly seeking a similar figure. Last season, Reeves played 73 games, averaging 20 points, 6 assists, and nearly 4.5 rebounds per game. He shot 46% from the field, 37% from three, and 80% from the free throw line. Solid numbers for a role player. Derek White, meanwhile, is known for his defense, clutch moments, and veteran leadership on a championship team, but statistically, their overall contributions are somewhat comparable. It makes you wonder about market value for role players in today's NBA, where offensive production, especially efficient shooting and playmaking, can command big contracts even if the player isn't a star. So Celtics fans, what do you think? With all these moving parts, contract negotiations, and trade rumors, should the Celtics be looking to pull the trigger on a big star like Trae Young or even Giannis if he becomes available? Or is it wiser to hold steady, develop the young talent like Simons and Pritchard, and stick to a team identity that prioritizes defense and chemistry? It's a fascinating crossroads, and, as always, I'll keep bringing you the latest and breaking down what it all means for Boston. Thanks for tuning in, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for more Celtics news and analysis coming soon. All right, Celtics Nation, now that we've unpacked all the drama surrounding the Eastern Conference's key players and contracts, let's dive deeper into the Celtics' own roster and strategic outlook as we approach what promises to be a pivotal season. The roster construction questions are real, and they're not just about who's on the court, but about how the front office navigates the salary cap, extensions, trades, and development. The reality is that Boston is in a fascinating but tricky position. On one hand, the core of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown has proven itself elite, borderline superstar level. On the other hand, the supporting cast and depth beyond those two stars still raise questions about whether this team can truly challenge for a title without significant upgrades. Let's start with the big elephant in the room, Jason Tatum's injury status and how that impacts Boston's approach this season. Tatum's injury recovery timeline and readiness are crucial not only for Boston's on-court success, but also for their salary cap flexibility. With Tatum sidelined for the start of the season, the Celtics must lean on their bench and role players more than they have in recent years. That means Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and Anthony Simons will be called upon to take on bigger roles, and how they perform will likely dictate whether Boston is a top 4 seed or just scraping into the playoffs. Derek White remains a vital piece of this puzzle. His defense and leadership give Boston stability on the perimeter, but his offensive efficiency has been up and down, especially in playoff situations. The Celtics have to hope he can find that consistency, because his ability to guard opposing stars while still contributing offensively makes him a near-ideal 3-and-D player who can also create shots. Peyton Pritchard and Anthony Simons bring scoring punch and shooting, but they're not proven to consistently impact games at the highest level, so there's still a gap between their potential and what the Celtics need for a true championship push. Then there's the point guard situation, which remains an intriguing question mark. Marcus Smart's departure was a blow in terms of leadership and defensive tenacity, and the team's ability to replace him hasn't yet been proven. Some Celtics fans are hopeful that Derek White can fill that void, but realistically, White's game is better suited as a two-guard, and Boston could use a more traditional point guard who can both run the offense and defend the position. Anthony Simons and Peyton Pritchard are potential candidates, but both are still developing, and neither has shown the ability to carry the offense in crunch time consistently. One name that keeps coming up in Celtic circles is Chris Boucher, who the Celtics recently signed to a 2-year deal. Boucher's versatility, rim protection, and ability to stretch the floor make him a potentially important role player in Boston's rotation, especially as a backup center or power forward. His ability to switch on to guards and bigs alike on defense will be important in an Eastern Conference that is full of versatile wings and guards. But there's still a question of how much impact Boucher can make given the presence of other big men like Robert Williams and Al Horford, both of whom have distinct skill sets and roles in the Celtics lineup. Speaking of Robert Williams, his health is arguably the single most important factor in Boston's frontcourt success. When Williams is fully healthy, he's one of the best rim protectors and defenders in the league. His ability to protect the paint, block shots, and run the floor adds a unique dimension to Boston's defense. However, injuries have plagued him, and the Celtics have to carefully manage his minutes and health to maximize his impact. The team's medical staff and front office will need to be smart with his usage, especially in back-to-back games or heavy playoff stretches. On offense, the Celtics are heavily reliant on Tatum and Brown scoring, and that makes it essential that the secondary and tertiary options step up. In recent years, the Celtics have seen struggles in finding consistent scoring outside of their two stars, especially in playoff moments. That's why roster moves, trades, and free agency signings are so critical this summer. Boston needs reliable role players who can hit open threes, create their own shots, and help spread the floor to open driving lanes for Tatum and Brown. That could mean developing current young talent or exploring external options via trade or free agency. In terms of salary cap and future flexibility, the Celtics are in an interesting spot. The luxury tax implications of their current roster, combined with extensions for core players, means Boston needs to be savvy with any additional moves. Giving big contracts to role players who don't significantly improve the team's ceiling would be a mistake, but at the same time, they can't afford to be too conservative and risk losing valuable contributors to other teams. Now, looking ahead to possible trade scenarios, Boston's front office, led by Danny Ainge's successor, Brad Stevens, has proven in recent years that they're willing to be aggressive when the right opportunity presents itself. The question is, what kind of trade targets make sense for the Celtics right now? Trading for a high-usage star like Trae Young or even Giannis Antetokounmpo would be transformative but also comes with massive costs in terms of assets, cap space, and roster flexibility. Meanwhile, targeting mid-level stars or impactful role players who can fit alongside Tatum and Brown without disrupting chemistry might be a more practical approach. If the Celtics pursue a star like Giannis, they would almost certainly need to include Jaylen Brown in any trade package. That would be a seismic shift for Boston fans because Brown has been a foundational player and a fan favorite. However, pairing Tatum with Giannis could create an elite front-court combination capable of dominating both ends of the floor. The problem is that the Celtics would sacrifice their wing's scoring and defensive versatility by moving Brown, who has evolved into a two-way star. It's a tough call. Do you build around Tatum and Brown, or do you roll the dice on a different star? Alternatively, a trade for a dynamic playmaker like Trae Young could solve the point guard question, giving Boston a reliable offensive initiator to relieve pressure from Tatum and Brown. However, Young's defense is a liability, and that could create mismatches in the playoffs, especially against teams with strong defensive guards. Boston would need to adjust its defensive schemes and rely more heavily on help defense and rim protection. Plus, there's the financial side. Young's max contract is expensive and could limit Boston's flexibility to add role players. Aside from trades, the Celtics front office has opportunities in free agency. Although the market for elite free agents has shrunk in recent years, there are always valuable role players and veterans who could be signed to complement the core. Players who can hit open threes, defend multiple positions, and bring championship experience would be ideal. The Celtics have a reputation for developing talent and integrating new pieces, so the right free agent could thrive in their system. Looking deeper at player development, Boston's young players like Peyton Pritchard, Anthony Simons, and rookie Caleb where all have upside but need more consistency and opportunity. The coaching staff will play a critical role in maximizing their potential. Boston's culture emphasizes hard work, defense, and smart basketball, so players who buy into that system tend to improve over time. The team's development pipeline has improved as well, with strong analytic support and player tracking data guiding personalized training and growth. As for coaching, Joe Mazzulla is entering a critical phase in his tenure. He's already proven that he can motivate the team and make tactical adjustments, but the upcoming season will test his ability to manage injuries, rotation changes, and the expectations of a championship-contending roster. The balance between developing young talent and pushing for immediate success is delicate, and how Mazzulla navigates that will impact Boston's trajectory. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Whispers around the NBA world are intensifying as the name Cooper FLAGG keeps surfacing in connection with one of the league's most storied franchises, the Boston Celtics. According to sources who prefer to remain anonymous, the team has reportedly finalized an agreement with FLAGG, though official confirmations remain elusive, leaving fans and insiders alike buzzing with speculation. The mere possibility of FLAGG joining Boston has ignited a whirlwind of conversation across social media, sports forums, and analyst roundtables, all dissecting what his presence could mean for the Celtics' trajectory in the upcoming seasons. Many suggest that if FLAGG's skills translate seamlessly to the professional level, he could be the missing piece the Celtics have been chasing, blending youthful energy with the organization's historic emphasis on versatility and defensive prowess. Even as the team has yet to release an official statement, the excitement generated by the rumored deal has already begun to affect ticket sales projections, merchandise anticipation, and local fan engagement, signaling a potential renaissance in Celtics enthusiasm. Observers argue that Boston's strategy in courting FLAGG might represent a broader vision of rebuilding while simultaneously aiming for immediate competitiveness, hinting at a deliberate, calculated approach that mixes high-ceiling prospects with veteran stability. The rumors surrounding FLAGG's arrival in Boston has prompted heated debates regarding roster implications, potential minutes distribution, and long-term team chemistry, all of which are now hot topics among analysts and insiders. Some speculate that FLAGG could slot into a rotational role early, gaining invaluable experience under the guidance of seasoned teammates while gradually becoming a central contributor as the season progresses. Others argue that the Celtics might be planning a more ambitious integration, envisioning FLAGG as a cornerstone for future playoff runs, capable of altering matchups and providing flexibility in offensive and defensive schemes. Conversations among fans often drift toward comparisons with past Celtics prodigies, weighing FLAGG's projected growth against the trajectories of former young stars who either thrived or struggled under the intense pressure of Boston's basketball culture. In parallel, social media chatter paints a vivid picture of anticipation and cautious optimism, as supporters imagine highlight reels, clutch performances, and strategic adjustments designed to maximize FLAGG's talents. While these speculations remain unconfirmed, the narrative of a potential FLAGG Celtics alliance has become a recurring theme in sports coverage, fueling weekly podcasts, morning shows, and print columns eager to explore every conceivable angle of this developing story. Inside sources suggest that if the rumored agreement is accurate, Boston's front office has likely conducted exhaustive evaluations of FLAGG's performance metrics, potential fit within Brad Stevens' system, and compatibility with existing star players, signaling a meticulous approach to roster construction. Analysts point out that FLAGG's versatility, defensive instincts, and scoring ability could complement Boston's emphasis on transition play and structured half-court sets, potentially creating mismatches against elite competition. Yet, skeptics remain wary, questioning whether the leap from college or international play to the high-pressure environment of the NBA might reveal weaknesses that scouts previously overlooked. Rumors about contract details, incentive structures, and potential trade clauses further heighten intrigue, as insiders debate how the financial and strategic aspects of the deal align with Boston's overarching philosophy. In addition, the mere buzz surrounding FLAGG seems to have sparked conversations about the Celtics' broader talent pipeline, suggesting that the organization may be signaling a commitment to nurturing young stars while simultaneously pursuing immediate success. If the deal is solidified, it could mark a turning point in Boston's roster narrative, demonstrating the team's willingness to take calculated risks on high-upside players who could reshape the franchise's fortunes in coming years. Among fans, the speculation surrounding Cooper FLAGG has fostered a wave of both excitement and cautious analysis, as supporters debate the potential ramifications of his arrival on Celtics culture, locker room dynamics, and game day performance. Social media platforms have become hotbeds for hypothetical scenarios, from imagined highlight reels to breakdowns of possible starting lineups and rotational adjustments, with users weighing every statistic, scouting report, and highlight clip available. The rumor has also reinvigorated debates about Boston's strategy in the NBA draft and player development, with enthusiasts arguing that securing FLAGG might indicate a renewed focus on cultivating homegrown talent capable of competing at the highest level for years to come. Podcasts and online forums speculate endlessly about FLAGG's ceiling, with some suggesting he could evolve into an all-star within a few seasons if nurtured properly, while others caution that the transition could expose vulnerabilities in decision-making and consistency. Additionally, conversations about potential mentorship roles for veteran Celtics players have surfaced, fueling the narrative that FLAGG's integration could be as much about cultural fit and character as it is about on-court production. The persistent chatter demonstrates how a single rumored acquisition can ripple throughout fan communities, influencing perceptions, expectations, and the broader conversation surrounding team strategy and future aspirations. Ultimately, the potential acquisition of Cooper FLAGG by the Boston Celtics has captured the imagination of the basketball world, sparking speculation, debates, and anticipation that show no signs of waning. While official confirmation remains pending, the circulating reports have already reshaped narratives about the team's direction, suggesting a blend of strategic foresight, calculated risk-taking, and a desire to rejuvenate both the roster and the franchise's energy. Analysts continue to scrutinize every angle, from potential lineup configurations to FLAGG's projected statistical impact, debating how his skills might influence Boston's offensive sets and defensive schemes, while also considering the psychological and cultural effects on the locker room. The rumor has also prompted comparisons with other high-profile acquisitions in recent NBA history, with experts evaluating whether FLAGG's skill set and developmental trajectory could mirror past successes or fall prey to the challenges faced by young players in high-pressure markets. Meanwhile, fan excitement continues to build, with merchandise speculation, ticket demand projections, and online engagement all reflecting the potential buzz generated by this possible signing. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.